Oh, Antonio.
Hey Ed, how's it going?
Man, it's going well, but that's looking pretty slick.
A lot of UI work going in these days.
This makes me curious. What do you have next?
Oh, man, there's a lot actually. You want to go ahead and grab lunch and talk about it?
Yeah, it sounds good. Let's do it.
All right, cool. I'll drive.
Okay. Meet you up front. Antonio,
Hey Ed.
an Acura.
Yeah, it's all about class.
In some respects, I was expecting something a little bit more, UI, modern, tech geek-like.
A Tesla, perhaps?
Yeah, there you go. But at the same time, it makes sense because this is Honda's design-forward, upper-end product, and Acura has always been on the forefront of looking pretty cool, no?
Yeah, absolutely. I think maybe we're going to head to Smashburger.
Sounds good. Let's roll, man.
All right, let's do it.
And your role as being our user interface engineer, you're trying to create efficiency and you're trying to create visibility in the supply chain and also create this community in our supply chain operating network that people have trusted collaboration across their partners now.
Yeah, absolutely. So, when you're building a UI, it's all about getting not only the functionality right, which is what people need to do, but also the feel right, which is what do they think about when they're using the product? How can the product stay out of their way but still reinforce kind of the kinds of sensations that we want? So trust is one of them. Making sure that people are aware that the system that they're using is a trustworthy one and that the people they're interacting with are people that they can trust. So there's a business side to that, which is making sure on our end that the partners that we bring on are trustworthy.
How do you go about creating that environment that you just talked about? Something that is productive and easy to use from the user's perspective, yet delivers the expected business value that they're looking for out of the product as well?
It's an interesting process. There's a lot of iteration on the process and on the actual development that has to go on. So an important part of it is make sure that we talk to our users, make sure that we're talking not only to the people inside Elemica who know how we want the system to be used, but also the people outside Elemica who are our customers and see both how they want to use it and how they are actually using it.
Are you often surprised then, or is your experience more validation with few surprises?
There's a combination of the two. Every time that we have one of those surprises, it's a data point that we can use to improve our sense for the future of how people use the system, how people interact with the system, and how they derive value from the system.
How do you balance then the potential friction or tension between being a master artist versus a master engineer?
The way the team's structured, it's important that we have developers who have kind of an eye for that so they can give quick and useful feedback to him to say, hey, this looks great, but I'm not sure that it's going to be used this way, or this is definitely going to be used this way, but maybe there are a few improvements we can make to the look to unify it. Because at the end of the day, the more people you have who are kind of neck deep in the product, interacting with each other and informing each other's information, the less unevenness there is around the edges,
There's an experience you're creating with the products and within the products, the user interfaces. Then there's also an experience that the customer is expecting in the supply chain world and as they engage technology. And then there's an experience that the Elemica brand is trying to exude. How do you bring all those types of things together?
It's really kind of the art of balance in a lot of ways, and really finding the place where they all meet and become one and the same. Mm-hmm. It's not always a perfect science. There's a lot of iteration, like I was saying before, really building the UI that you think represents all of those things at once. And then after that, showing it to various people, various stakeholders, people who are in charge of kind of the Elemica brand, people who are in charge of the product itself and the product vision, and people who on a day-to-day basis interact with the system, and then get feedback from all of them, gather their thoughts, consolidate them into how can we move closer to all of them or to the ones that we were furthest away from, and then take one step closer and kind of repeat the process, essentially.
Okay. Oh, so it looks like we're almost here, huh?
Yep, we're just about to pull in over here. Such quick service. You mind holding this for me?
Yeah, sure. I'll put it over here.
All right.
Let's get back to the office while it's still hot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you have any insight into what the next 90 days, 6 months, or even a year might look like for our customers?
So, I mean, we're moving on a lot of prongs, I think, at the same time. I was talking to another developer a while back, someone who's been doing this for a lot longer than I have, and he told me that as a team, we're achieving a ridiculous amount of stuff for the size that we have, for the number of people that we have. We're just the output that we have and how coherent we manage to keep it and how we manage to run the entire team and the inputs that we get from the outside is really impressive. So the end result is that we're working on about 3 or 4 fronts over the next 3 to 5 months to really build out what we've been referring to as the mapping ID until now, which is all about bringing single partners onto the system incredibly easily in a way that as many people can do it as possible, and it requires as little training as possible, so that we can really bring down how long it takes to go from having a partner we've never seen before to having them fully operational and able to interoperate with the vast majority of our partners in, hopefully a matter of hours at most, right? So that's kind of one side of it. The second side of it is applications. So the new system, the Elemica QuickLink 2.0 system, is built around not just making it really easy to interact with it, but also making it so that we can extract as much data in a common way from all of the messages that we deal with. So the app side of things is what can we do to surface that data and make it really bring useful information about the supply chain to our customers. Part 3 is tying it all together into a single onboarding flow that really takes you from that zero, we've never seen you before point, and guides you through the process of building out all of the configuration that you need to have the partner transacting on the network. And the focus there is not just to make it quick, but also to make it easy. And to be able to eventually, I think, let anyone do it.
Our customers are process manufacturers. Mm-hmm. And they're using us so that they have a better performing, highly efficient, highly capable supply chain. And at the end of the day, they want to use their supply chain to create their own competitive advantage and service their customers extremely well.
Right.
How does that fold into what you're doing? Because you have to be cognizant in your role of what this whole supply chain space looks like, and in particular within our industry. How do you work with that and also make it work within the technology?
The supply chain is really about how we can get to the information about where things are and how much of them we need and all this information and turn it into actionable data, right? And I think for me, that's where Elemica has come in and where we've been able to, what we've been able to build on top of is we have this data and it's been really focusing on how we can use that data to service our customers as best possible and initially respond to their needs, but eventually anticipate their needs, be it in terms of detecting weather patterns that could cause delays, that could in turn cascade into problems for a particular factory, or knowing that something was delayed due to whatever loading, unloading issue at a particular stop somewhere, and offering alternatives for where you could get an emergency supply of whatever it is that product was, to keep you going, to kind of fill in the gap between when you were supposed to receive it and when you're actually going to receive it. So taking some of that uncertainty out of the supply chain is where I think we're eventually going to want to go. And to really understand what that means, we will have to understand what kinds of uncertainties people deal with, which will, as usual, involve talking to them.
Antonio, I'm a little shocked you got a triple burger. Looking at you, I wouldn't have thought you ordered that kind of sandwich. But
there's a lot of empty space in here. I try to keep this pretty packed, and then keep plenty of space down here for lunch and dinner.
Sounds good. Let me grab my phone, and then I'll meet you in the kitchen.
All right, awesome.
Sounds good,
See you
man.
in a second.